I'm sorry, Your Honor, but my stepdaughter has a history of delusions. That sentence didn't just echo in the courtroom, it sealed the atmosphere, heavy and suffocating, as if the decision had already been made before I even spoke. A few people in the back exchanged glances. Someone whispered. I could feel it spreading, doubt, suspicion, quiet judgment wrapping around me like a noose. If I lost today, everything was gone. Not just the house. Not just the money. The truth. I forced myself to stand still, even as my fingers trembled slightly against the wooden table. Across from me, my stepmom looked composed, elegant, perfectly in control. She wore black, just like she had at my father's funeral, the same soft expression, the same carefully measured sadness. Anyone looking at her would see a grieving widow being harassed by a mentally unstable girl. That was the story she had built. And until this moment, it had worked. Her lawyer slid a file across the table with deliberate confidence. Your Honor, we have medical documentation confirming the defendant has exhibited signs of paranoia, emotional instability, and persistent delusions over the past year. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was perfect. Every lie supported by paper. Every manipulation documented. Every move calculated months in advance. But she made one mistake. She thought I wouldn't fight back. Do you have anything to say in your defense? The judge asked. Her voice was calm, neutral, unreadable. I swallowed slowly. This was the moment. Everything depended on how I played it. Yes, Your Honor. My voice came out steadier than I expected. I reached into my bag and pulled out a small USB drive, placing it on the table with a soft click that somehow sounded louder than anything else in the room. For the first time, my stepmom's eyes shifted. Just slightly. But I saw it. Another fantasy, she said, almost gently. She's been creating stories for months. I truly wish she could get the help she needs. The performance was flawless. Too flawless. I didn't look at her. I looked at the judge. Please play the video. There was a pause. Then a nod. The screen flickered to life. The footage wasn't high quality, but it didn't need to be. It showed our living room, the one my father had spent years designing, the one he loved more than any place in the world. His chair sat near the window. The lamp was still on. And then she appeared. My stepmom. She walked into frame, holding her phone, her expression completely different from the one she wore now. There was no softness. No grief. Only calculation. No, everything is already signed, she said into the phone, her voice clear enough to cut through the silence. The estate has been transferred. She paused, listening. And the girl, she continued. Don't worry. I've already arranged her diagnosis. No one will take her seriously. A ripple moved through the courtroom. It wasn't loud. Just a shift. A fracture in the certainty she had built. That's not my voice, she said immediately. This is fabricated. Of course she would say that. I had been waiting for it. Play the next clip, I said quietly. The second video appeared. Different location. Same truth. A hospital corridor. She stood near a door, speaking to a man in a white coat. The camera angle was partially obstructed, but her voice was unmistakable. I just need the report to mention delusional tendencies, she said. Once that's documented, everything else becomes easy. The doctor hesitated. This could raise questions later. It won't, she replied coldly. Because by then, she won't be credible. The courtroom erupted into whispers. Not loud, not chaotic, but enough. Enough to break her illusion. Her lawyer stood quickly, objecting, questioning the authenticity of the footage. But I could hear it in his voice. Doubt. The same doubt that was now spreading through the room. The judge raised a hand, silencing everyone. Then she leaned back slightly, studying the screen, then my stepmom, then the documents in front of her. Time stretched. Every second felt longer than the last. And then, slowly, she reached up and removed her glasses. The movement was small. But everything changed. Her eyes were sharper now, focused in a way that made my chest tighten. This wasn't just evaluation anymore. This was recognition. I've seen this pattern before, she said. The room went still. My stepmom didn't move. I don't understand what you mean. The judge leaned forward slightly, her gaze locked. 3 years ago, a similar case came before this court. A sudden inheritance. A disputed mental evaluation. A beneficiary who claimed the heir was unstable. A pause. The case collapsed due to insufficient evidence. Another pause. But the method was identical. Something shifted in my stepmom's expression. Not fear yet. But not confidence either. You used a different name then, the judge continued. But the behavior, the strategy, the manipulation, it's the same. That's absurd, my stepmom said, but her voice lacked its earlier control. No, the judge replied calmly. What's absurd is thinking no one would notice. Silence pressed down on the room. And then, just when it seemed like that was the final blow, I spoke again. There's one more thing, Your Honor. Every head turned back toward me. My stepmom's eyes widened, just for a second. Good. I reached into my bag again and pulled out a folder this time. These are bank records, I said. Transfers made 2 weeks before my father died. The judge took the documents. I continued, my voice steady, each word deliberate. The payments were made to the same doctor shown in the video. A ripple moved through the courtroom again. And, I added, there's more. I pointed to a specific line. A second transfer. To a private investigator. The judge looked up. I met her gaze. He was hired to follow me, I said. To build a behavioral profile that would support the diagnosis. Now the silence was different. Heavier. Sharper. My stepmom shook her head quickly. This is all circumstantial. None of this proves anything. But it did. Because the pieces fit. Too perfectly. The judge closed the folder slowly. Then she looked directly at my stepmom. For someone who claimed this was a simple case of a troubled young woman, she said, you seem to have invested a significant amount of effort into controlling the narrative. No response. No denial. Nothing. And that was when it finally broke. Not loudly. Not dramatically. But completely. Based on the evidence presented, the judge said, her voice firm now, no longer neutral, I am ordering an immediate criminal investigation into potential fraud, coercion, and falsification of medical records. My stepmom's hand slipped from the table. All assets connected to the estate will be frozen effective immediately. Her breathing became uneven. Her control was gone. This court will also be reviewing the prior case referenced, the judge added. If connections are confirmed, further charges may follow. The words echoed. Final. Unavoidable. My stepmom sat down slowly, her face pale, her carefully constructed identity collapsing piece by piece. For the first time, she looked at me not with superiority, not with calm control, but with something real. Fear. I didn't smile. I didn't speak. I just stood there, feeling something settle inside me. Not relief. Not yet. But something stronger. The truth, finally no longer buried. And for the first time since my father died, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. I was never the one who had lost my mind.